The Chris Evans Breakfast Show with Sky.
Hopes and dreams for the movie?
I just hope, I hope it, much like Bohemian Rhapsody did with Queen, you hope it brings this music to a new generation, I think, and people discover him. People kind of see something behind the iconography of who he is and the big glasses and the sparkly jackets and see some struggle and some of the things that he's overcome. This is very much a joyous celebration of a life that he's still fortunately getting to live, and I think that's the best element of the story. He's survived so many things. He's, as you mentioned, his AIDS campaign and his AIDS charity, the amount of money that him and David have managed to raise. I was at his Oscar party this year, and I think they raised something like 60 million just this year.
Well, I think every royalty from every record that ever gets played, every Elton John record that ever gets played anywhere in the world, every single penny forever goes to the AIDS charity.
Exactly.
So all this music we're playing now, that all goes to on every radio station in the world, MTV, movie soundtracks, TV adverts, etc., etc., etc. Congratulations on the first Spectacles, which I enjoyed thoroughly. Can't believe it's 4 years ago. That
I know, crazy. This is sort of a follow-up, I guess, but as opposed to the first 45 years of my life where I didn't travel at all, then the rest of it was kind of spent on a plane or in the middle of nowhere.
Tips for people who haven't travelled. Sue Perkins, go.
Hand sanitizer, the end. Just because I've been to places where you are on a knife edge. You are on a gastrointestinal knife edge. Right. And we were places where you just squirt hand sanitizer on your chopsticks, on open wounds, on anything. And that will... I mean, everything tastes pretty weird after that, but at least you won't end up in A&E. I went on this 4-month trip, sort of round the world, really, staying on floors and on people's tables and going to places where they had never seen a Westerner before, where there was no running water or electricity. And that is a sharp learning curve.
Yeah, that is in the deep end, isn't it?
Yeah.
So have you fallen in love with travelling now?
I have, yeah. It makes you, only because, I know it sounds like a truism, but it does really make you appreciate what you have. So I remember sort of being in India for about 3 months and coming home and just putting my face against the bathroom wall and flicking the light switch off and on because I hadn't had that. And you feel like a magician. We have so much power, we don't even know it. Being somewhere else makes you... For me, like, my dad had just died, so I didn't sort of grieve at all. And we did this big trip to India, and I had to climb up this. We sort of climbed up the Himalayas, basically. And I thought when I got to the top, I'd give this extraordinary, piece to camera about pilgrimage and communion. And instead, I just burst into tears. And all I could say was, my dad's dead. Aww. And it was, and I know you know how that pain of that. And I recommend travel because it displaces you and it takes you away from what the West does to us psychologically.
Happy Place podcast, doing great guns. The Happy Place Festival, bringing the podcast and lots of other things to life. Yeah. First of all, the podcast, it's in the second series now. How do podcasts have series? How did yours come about in the first place? And whereabouts are we up to?
They don't have to have series, but I found it nice to sort of have a beginning, middle and an end. And we've done, as you said, series 1 and 2, and 3's about to start very soon. Right. It's just talking about life and being very real and honest and having that connection to sort of realise that we're all the same. We all have the same, brilliant parts of life and struggles. And I love doing it. It's just beautiful. It's like this, but for an hour without any music. Yeah, so it's a really lovely chance to just have a great chat. So I'm just loving every minute.
Do you know about shrimps and their brains?
No. Go on.
Okay. If you read Jordan B. Peterson's book 12 Rules for Life, the first chapter is all about the lobster and the lobster family, of which the prawn, was it prawn?
Shrimp.
A wood shrimp. Prawn. All part of that family.
A wood shrimp.
Wood shrimp.
Has he got an Instagram account?
I should get him.
Because that's exactly what you should have. Mrs. Hinch, move over. What's his name again?
Dave.
Dave the Shrimp is in town.
Right, I'm doing
Dave Wood.
That's good. When I get home, that's happening.
He's not impish, he's shrimpish.
We've got a catch line already.
Right. So they have different ways of letting each other know who's the strongest, so they don't have to come to blows. First of all, they look at each other. Right. Then they fire a scent at each other, which has their testosterone in it, and different levels of testosterone means more aggressive and stronger. But then what happens is, if a shrimp backs off or is beaten in a fight without dying, if it doesn't die, that shrimp's brain then melts.
What?
It melts.
Don't be silly.
No, it melts. It disintegrates.
How do you all know? Rachel's nodding.
Because it's in Jordan B. Peterson's book and he knows everything.
Wow.
Right?
Right.
So basically,
we need to read this.
What happens is the shrimp's brain melts completely, okay, and then it grows another brain which is more subservient, which makes its life more bearable.
Wow.
I want to remember that night in late September, Barcelona.
Andy, that was gorgeous.
Thank you.
Okay, it was fantastic. I mean, when do you decide to do a different take on a song as opposed to the one that we all know and recognise?
I guess just that I'm not with Johnny. I think his whole thing was the
Yeah.
you know, and the guitar intro.
Who wrote it then? Did you write it between you? Did you
Yeah,
write it? Did he
me and
write
him
it?
wrote it, yeah.
Okay, you wrote it between you. So it's Harvey Harvey's. Well, he played on this show a couple of weeks ago.
I know.
You
I
know,
saw,
still
he doesn't talk to me. I have to watch through.
Yeah.
You know, but it was.
But sometimes it goes that way. But there will be. Never say never. You never say never, do you?
No, I'm starting to think never. But that's fine. I left.
All right. Okay. All right. And you're over. and you're over it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I left because I couldn't deal with it, so it's not a problem. But like, yeah, I do. I miss him.
But Johnny's changed immensely now, hasn't he?
No.
He hasn't. All right. Do you have your own island? I asked your son this. I said, "Do you have an island?" And he said, "What do you mean, do I have an island?" Well, I said, "There are 26,000 to choose from, and often in Sweden, if you buy a detached house, it's on its own island, is it?"
Well, I have a house on an island, a summer house on an island, but it's not. I share that island with about 1,000 people.
Summer house on an island in Sweden. You've got it all.
No, but the archipelago outside of Stockholm is fantastic, and you can take your boat to a restaurant in one island, and you go shopping on another island.
How cool is that? No wonder you're all so laid back and chilled with life. Often in global votes of happiness, Scandinavia 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Finland, Norway, yourselves, Denmark. How come?
Well, we still have what you used to have: free education and good healthcare.
As simple as that. So it is said in the first episode of this amazing new program that's out next week. It said, the nuclear core, it's not in meltdown. It won't be in meltdown. That's impossible. And then somebody says, no, it's not in meltdown. You're right. It's exploded. And they said, no, it can't explode. And they were in total denial for the first 24 hours, weren't they?
Yeah, it's they had no clue. They thought it was a water tank that had exploded to begin with, because the faith in nuclear power, when it works, is the safest and cleanest energy form we can come up with today, except for wind and sun. But of course, if it doesn't work, it's really dangerous. The fantastic thing, if you watch this series, which is truthful, which means it's rather dark, but it's not depressing.
It's chilling though, isn't it?
It's chilling. It's like a horror film in a way, but the horror of it is real. But if you watch it, you will actually learn exactly what happened. You will understand how a nuclear reactor works, and you will understand what the flaws were with this particular reactor, and you will understand why it happened.
Excel, come on, Grand Designs Live. Okay, let's sell Excel. It starts tomorrow, it runs for a week, and then it moves to Birmingham. What new do you have for people this year?
Basically turning Grand Designs Live into National Self-Build Week, and anybody in Self-Build would be. We've got the government minister coming down, the housing minister, 500 exhibitors.
Yes.
And we've got lots of things to see and do and play with. So we've got little forests to explore, because we're also launching with Friends of the Earth to launch the kind of people's forest, getting everybody to plant one tree in their garden.
Right.
So we create effectively city forests across the UK with lots of biodiversity, lots of wildlife corridors. Lots of carbon capture.
How is Sweden's carbon footprint? What's going on with Sweden now? I bet they've got that spot on as well.
Shaming.
Well, they're pretty good, but we have the same problems as everywhere. That there is a sort of a resistance, a financial resistance to it.
The Chris Evans Breakfast Show with Sky.